There are legends, and then there are the stories that make you question what a legend really means. Because behind the records, the accolades, and the nickname, the mailman, lies a man whose personal darkness runs deeper than anyone ever wanted to believe. This is the story of Karl Malone, a player who conquered the NBA but lost his soul in the process. A man who delivered greatness on the court but left devastation everywhere else. And a reminder that no amount of fame, money, or respect can erase the truth forever. To understand Karl Malone's downfall, you first have to understand where he came from. Born on July 24, 1963, in Summerfield, Louisiana, a place so small it barely appeared on the map, Malone's childhood wasn't filled with trophies or adoration. It was marked by pain. His father, Shedrick Hay, abandoned the family early, leaving his mother, Shirley Malone, to raise 9 children on her own. She picked cotton, cleaned houses, and worked at a sawmill just to keep the lights on. For most kids, that kind of life crushes you. But for Karl, it did something else. It hardened him. He once said his mother was everything. Mother, father, and hero. Her relentless belief that he could be somebody became the core of his identity. But that unconditional love came with a silent cost. It taught Karl that he was special, that no rule could hold him down, that he could get away with anything as long as he worked hard enough. In Summerfield, people didn't dream of NBA superstardom. Most dreamed of surviving. But Karl Malone, he dreamed bigger. Not of basketball, at first, but of flying fighter jets. As a boy, he'd stare at the sky and say, "One day, I'm going to fly a Harrier." He was awkward, bullied, and angry, until basketball gave him a purpose. Once he picked up a basketball, everything changed. He vowed, "If I can't be the best, nobody will outwork me." That was the moment Karl Malone was born. Not the man, but the machine. Relentless, unstoppable, obsessed. By high school, Malone was a 6'9" powerhouse, averaging 30 points and 20 rebounds per game. He led his team to 3 straight Louisiana State titles and became the pride of his small town. But behind the hype, Malone was struggling in silence. His grades were poor, his confidence fragile, and his mind haunted by his father's suicide. A wound he never spoke about until years later. He barely made it into college, accepted to Louisiana Tech thanks to a handful of coaches who saw something in him that others didn't. Even then, he was ineligible his first year, academically disqualified. But that humiliation only fueled his obsession. By the time he returned, he was unstoppable, averaging 17 points and 9 rebounds, terrorizing opponents with his strength and athleticism. In 1985, the Utah Jazz drafted him 13th overall, a pick that would change basketball history. 12 teams had passed on him, and Karl never forgot it. In Utah, he became everything the small market franchise could ever hope for. Loyal, consistent, dominant. He earned his nickname, the mailman, because he always delivered. Game after game, night after night, no excuses, no days off. He was the embodiment of reliability, the player who showed up, played through pain, and worked harder than anyone else. Alongside point guard John Stockton, he formed one of the most unstoppable duos in NBA history. Their pick-and-roll offense became basketball's gold standard. And soon, Malone wasn't just a player. He was an icon, a 2-time MVP, Olympic gold medalist, and one of the league's most respected stars. But the thing about idols is, sometimes their halos are built on secrets. And Malone's secrets were darker than anyone could have imagined. While Karl Malone was building his reputation as basketball's blue-collar hero, a devastating truth was hiding in plain sight. Before the fame, before the millions, before the mailman, there was a crime. In 1983, while home in Summerfield during college, Malone began a relationship with a girl named Gloria Bell. Yes, 13, a child. Gloria would later give birth to Malone's son, Demetrius Bell, when she was just 14 years old. And Malone? He denied everything. When Gloria's family filed a paternity suit, Malone refused to show up to court. He ignored subpoenas, hid behind lawyers, and even claimed $125 a week in child support was too much. This, while he was earning hundreds of thousands as an NBA star. A DNA test confirmed what everyone already knew. He was the father. But even then, he didn't take responsibility. He told his own son, "It's too late for me to be your dad. You've got to go get it out the mud." Those words would haunt Demetrius for the rest of his life. Imagine being told by your father, a multimillionaire, a global superstar, that you're on your own. But this wasn't an isolated mistake. Years before, Malone had fathered twins with another woman, Bonita Ford, when he was just 17. He abandoned them too. One of those twins, Cheryl Ford, would go on to become a WNBA star. She once said she met her father a few times, but he was never truly there. So how could a man so obsessed with discipline, loyalty, and hard work be so careless, so cruel in his own life? Because for Karl Malone, rules only applied on the court. Off it, he lived like a man above the law. As the years passed, Malone's fame exploded. He was the face of Utah basketball, beloved by fans, worshipped by the media. He gave fiery speeches about integrity, hard work, and responsibility. But behind that tough talk, the hypocrisy was staggering. Here was a man who preached accountability while denying his own children. A man who told others to earn it while refusing to pay $500 a month to the son he left behind. He built a new family, married Miss Idaho, 1988, Kay Kinsey, and had 4 more kids. With them, he played the role of devoted father, attending games, coaching youth teams, and smiling for cameras. To the public, he looked redeemed, but redemption requires repentance, and Karl Malone never offered any. His fame insulated him. His community protected him. And the NBA, they looked the other way. No suspension, no investigation, just silence. The machine kept running, and so did the line. By 2003, Malone was nearing 40. His career was winding down, but he wanted one last shot at a championship. So he joined the Los Angeles Lakers, a super team with Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, and Gary Payton. But instead of glory, his final season ended in disgrace. During a game in 2004, Malone made sexually suggestive and racially insensitive comments toward Vanessa Bryant, Kobe's wife. When Kobe confronted him, Malone refused to apologize. He brushed it off, as he always had. It was the final crack in his carefully built image. The public didn't know the full story yet, but the whispers were growing louder. Malone retired shortly after. No farewell tour, no tearful goodbye, just silence. After leaving the game, Karl Malone tried to reinvent himself. He opened businesses, gave speeches, and positioned himself as a man of humility, grateful for his blessings, eager to give back. In 2010, he was inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame. He stood on stage, humble and reflective, saying, "I didn't do anything but try to play hard. It was never about me." The crowd applauded, the cameras flashed, and the truth remained buried. For nearly 2 decades, Malone lived comfortably out of the spotlight, hunting, managing car dealerships, and attending occasional jazz events. But the world was changing, and soon the truth he'd hidden for years was about to explode. In 2020, ESPN's The Last Dance brought the 1990s NBA back into the cultural spotlight. Karl Malone was featured as one of Michael Jordan's greatest rivals, but a new generation of fans began asking questions, and they didn't like what they found. Social media uncovered the Gloria Bell case, and within weeks, Karl Malone began trending worldwide. The outrage was immediate. People were horrified to learn that one of the NBA's most respected legends had impregnated a girl and faced 0 consequences. Then came the 2023 All-Star Game in Salt Lake City. Malone appeared as a judge for the slam dunk contest, and the crowd turned on him. Fans chanted, "Karl Malone 13, right there in the arena that once worshipped him. It was the moment his past finally caught up, and it was brutal. Commentators called him out openly. YouTubers, journalists, and players alike, everyone was talking. Even young stars like Victor Wembanyama reposted videos condemning him, writing, "Lock him up." The silence that had protected him for decades was gone. By 2025, Karl Malone's legacy had crumbled. He lived quietly back in Louisiana, far from the NBA spotlight. But even there, the ghosts followed him. Petitions called for the removal of his statues, both at Louisiana Tech and outside Utah's Delta Center. Protesters held signs that read, "Statues celebrate values. His betray ours." Bleacher Report ran a poll showing that 62% of fans supported removing him from the Hall of Fame. Even though the hall has no process for removal, the sentiment was clear. The legend had fallen. Bleacher Report ran a poll showing that 62% of fans supported removing him from the Hall of Fame. Even though the hall has no process for removal, the sentiment was clear. The legend had fallen. The tragedy of Karl Malone isn't just that he fell. It's that he could have risen differently. He had every opportunity to make amends, to apologize, to seek forgiveness, to help victims of abuse. He had the money, the platform, the power, but he chose silence. Instead of owning his past, he hid from it. Instead of accountability, he chose comfort. And in doing so, he ensured that his story would forever be a warning, not an inspiration. As one commentator put it best, talent will take you places character can't keep you. Karl Malone proved that you can be rich in the bank but poor in the soul. Once upon a time, the mailman always delivered. He delivered points. He delivered wins. He delivered hope to Utah. But in the end, the one thing he could never deliver was humanity. He was the unstoppable force who never learned how to stop himself. And his legacy, built on greatness, will forever be shadowed by guilt. Because in the game of life, stats don't matter. Morality does. And for Karl Malone, the delivery was never made.